And when I work with a client outside of Thesis, aka my freelance business, I charge anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for a single UGC video. Number 5, I think, is gonna be a little controversial. That's how you're gonna be able to really level yourself up in terms of the type of content that you're creating and ultimately what you're getting paid. What's up, marketers? I work at an agency where I source UGC creators for some of the top brands in D2C and e-commerce for their paid social ads. And I have been personally creating UGC content for about the last 3 years. And when I work with a client outside of Thesis, aka my freelance business, I charge anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for a single UGC video. So this is how I get brands to pay top dollar for my UGC. And as someone who sources UGC creators, these are the things that I wish all creators would do, and frankly, I would pay top dollar for it. The first thing is to film multiple engaging hooks. So we all know that the most important thing about creating UGC content is the hook, how you're actually getting people to stop on your paid social feeds. Now, there are several different tactics that you can use to get people to actually stop on your ad and eventually convert. And I have a video that goes into my top 5 strategies for this. Some of the hooks that I really like to use are things like reverse loops, TikTok trend, post-it note, response bubbles, and also paying attention to things that are really surprising, outlandish, and just very oddly satisfying. I'd say every time that I'm working with a client to develop that UGC, I am creating 2 separate, really different hooks that are both really engaging. This is my period hack. This is Angelica sinensis, also known as nature's ibuprofen. This is my period hack. This is Angelica sinensis, also known as nature's ibuprofen. The second thing is to use golden hour lighting. Now, I actually Google several times a month when golden hour is going to be throughout the day. And I actually arrange my entire day so that I can do my UGC shooting during this time of the day. The reality is that lighting is going to affect a lot of what your content ultimately looks like. And sure, you can buy things like extra lighting or ring light, but golden hour lighting is the thing that really does look the best in UGC content. One of the biggest factors in me not working with a certain creator again boils a lot down to the aesthetic, and the lighting is a massive part of that. And the cool thing is that golden hour lighting is free. So take your stuff outside, make sure to sit next to a window when you're doing your UGC content. It really does make a world of difference. The third thing is to make sure to clean up your backgrounds. So this is another thing that's playing into that idea of aesthetics. You have to be aware about things like clutter in the background, showing certain types of machinery in the background, and having a certain mess. I'd say really one of the biggest complaints that clients ultimately have about certain UGC creators boils down to this idea of the overall aesthetic. And one of the things that I can really pinpoint that tends to sway this content is what's going around in the background. So oftentimes what I do when I'm filming UGC content is I'll take a few clips at first, and then I'll sit down and actually look at the background to make sure that it looks clean and aesthetically pleasing. And number 4, another thing to consider is the background noise. So be sure to turn off things like your AC, your fans. Make sure you don't have the dryer or the washing machine going. Something that I actually struggle with a lot when I'm filming by the window, because I live in Brooklyn, is the sound of the cars. I can actually hear it sometimes in my UGC content, which forces me to actually refilm lots of things. But ultimately, I know that it's worth it because the quality is gonna be so much better. Something to consider too, if you're filming certain testimonials or voiceover for your clients, is to actually just film a completely separate take where you're using headphones. And really the best type of headphones that you can use for that are the ones that are actual earbuds where you have the microphone attached to it, so not AirPod. What's cool is these things are only like 20 bucks, but it goes a long way in improving the quality of your voiceover testimonials. Number 5, I think, is gonna be a little controversial, but I highly encourage UGC creators to do their hair, put on makeup, get ready so that they feel like their best self when filming content. I can tell when a UGC creator took a whopping 20 minutes to read the brief and didn't actually get ready and then just started filming content. And I'm gonna be honest, there have been times where I've even filmed content where I didn't do my hair and I didn't put on makeup. It's kind of wild to say, but the times that I've done my makeup, did my hair, put on an outfit that I really, really liked, and ultimately felt my best, that content is the content that outperformed the content where I barely brushed my hair, didn't wear makeup, and just didn't really feel so put together on camera. I can tell when a UGC creator has taken time to do their makeup, do their hair, and really look presentable and aesthetic. and it does go a long way in the content performance. And two, the clients tend to really appreciate that. I'd say one of the biggest complaints that I get from clients recently is that they didn't like the overall aesthetic of a creator. And a lot of that boils down to just creators not being as presentable on camera and not really looking like their best selves. At the end of the day, we're still in marketing and we're still trying to sell things, and this is a business. So you should really take care to put in that extra effort in the way that you look when presenting on camera for this UGC content. And number 6 is to film more transitions. Now, something that my clients really like that I do for them is every time I am making a video for them, even if it is just a single video, I will also include a folder of transitions that they can use. So I am taking the camera and putting it up close to the product, moving it far away, doing things like that and doing multiple of them. And the reason why I do that is because that type of content is really easy to use in edits and in compilations. And it is really eye-catching and sort of has this hook factor. I often find too that it's super helpful to make that type of transition content so that when I'm making my own edits, I can change up the frame, change up the jump cut, and really make it a lot more visually interesting. And number 7, I think this is gonna come as no surprise, is you really do have to consider the aesthetic of your UGC content. So simple things like purchasing backgrounds, purchasing props, purchasing plants really do go a long way in developing this type of UGC content. Again, one of the biggest complaints that I have from clients about specific UGC creators is that it's not aesthetic enough, or it just doesn't really look that good. And yes, the barrier to entry in this industry is really low. All that you need is a phone, but you really do have to consider the way that things look and the way that things can be edited in videos. And ultimately, clients are gonna be happy with content that is more aesthetically pleasing and really does look like you took a lot of time and care to develop the content. That's how you're always gonna get clients coming back to you. Another bonus suggestion I have for UGC creators is to make sure that you're always shooting your video in 4K. So I have an iPhone, and every time I am shooting that content, I am actually going ahead and changing it so that I can shoot in 4K, really at the highest possible quality. Yes, these files are going to be bigger, but it really does go a long way in improving that quality of content. Also be sure to turn off your HDR, because this is affecting how your content shows up in platforms like Adobe or Final Cut Pro. So I've found that sometimes the color looks really wonky if you have that on. So I always just make sure that I turn that off and have my videos shot in 4K. Now sure, if you do all of these things, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be able to start charging $500 to $1,000 right away for your UGC content. I also wanna mention that part of the reason why I'm able to charge this amount of money is because I have a background in performance marketing. So if a client chooses, I can actually go inside of their ad account and look at certain metrics so that I can iterate off of what I know has already been working and what hasn't been working. And ultimately, this is probably one of the biggest things that I can personally provide to a client. It's not just the content. I actually do play a very large role in the actual creative strategy and developing the types of scripts and the overall strategic vision of the ad asset that I'm creating for them. A lot of times I'm working with creators that can do all the things that I said in this video, but I'm still not going to be paying them $1,000 for their content because ultimately I'm still creating a lot of the brief. Really, the times where I'm charging the most amount of money for the user-generated content I'm creating for brands is when I am doing the entire strategic process. So I am coming up with concepting the idea based off of their previous learnings. I am writing the script and I am essentially producing the entire UGC asset. I've found that a lot of creators haven't quite got to that point yet, and they're still taking a lot of direction in terms of the script and the overall brief from the brands. So the more times that you can bring really great ideas to the brands and the agencies that you guys are working with for your UGC content, that's how you're gonna be able to really level yourself up in terms of the type of content that you're creating and ultimately what you're getting paid. And that's it. If you guys have any more questions about UGC content and how to make better UGC content, be sure to leave me a comment below. Thanks, bye.